Alexander the Great, conqueror of the known world, June 323 BC, Babylon. Alexander had just returned from his Indian campaign. He attended a banquet hosted by his admiral Nearchus. That night he drank heavily and fell ill. Over the next 12 days, his condition deteriorated rapidly. He developed a high fever, severe abdominal pain, and paralysis. He lost the ability to speak entirely. His soldiers filed past him one by one to say farewell. Alexander could only move his eyes to acknowledge them. On June 10, 323 BC, Alexander the Great died. He was 32 years old. He had conquered over 2 million square miles of territory. No definitive cause of death has ever been established. Theories include typhoid fever, excessive alcohol, and poisoning by his generals. The most chilling theory: Alexander may have been buried alive. His body showed no signs of decomposition for 6 days after death. Some modern doctors believe he suffered from Guillain-Barré syndrome. The syndrome can cause paralysis while the patient remains fully conscious. Alexander the Great may have been alive inside his own corpse for 6 days. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. April 14, 1865, Washington, D.C. The Civil War had effectively ended just 5 days earlier. Lincoln attended a performance of Our American Cousin at Ford's Theater. His bodyguard, John Parker, abandoned his post during the intermission. Parker left to drink at a nearby saloon. John Wilkes Booth entered the presidential box unimpeded. He pressed a single-shot Derringer pistol against Lincoln's head. He fired once at close range. The bullet entered behind Lincoln's left ear and lodged behind his right eye. Lincoln slumped forward in his theater chair. He was carried across the street to the Peterson House. 9 doctors attended to him through the night. None could remove the bullet or improve his condition. Abraham Lincoln was pronounced dead at 7:22 a.m. on April 15, 1865. He was 56 years old. Secretary of War Edwin Stanton declared, "Now he belongs to the ages." John Wilkes Booth was hunted down and shot dead 12 days later. Julius Caesar, dictator of Rome. March 15, 44 BC, the Ides of March. Caesar had been warned repeatedly not to attend the Senate that day. A soothsayer had warned him to beware the Ides of March. His wife Calpurnia had dreamed of his murder and begged him to stay home. Caesar ignored every warning and went to the Senate. 23 senators had conspired against him. The conspirators called themselves the Liberatores. As Caesar took his seat, a senator named Tullius Cimber approached with a petition. When Caesar dismissed the petition, Cimber grabbed his toga. This was the signal. The senators drew their daggers simultaneously. Caesar was stabbed 23 times. He attempted to fight back but was quickly overwhelmed. He pulled his toga over his face as the blows continued. Julius Caesar collapsed at the base of a statue of Pompey. He was 55 years old. Only one of the 23 wounds was fatal, a stab to the chest. Every conspirator who killed Caesar died violently within 3 years. Grigori Rasputin, the Mad Monk of Russia. December 30th, 1916, Petrograd, Russia. Rasputin had gained enormous influence over Tsar Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra. A group of Russian nobles decided he had to be eliminated. Prince Felix Yusupov lured Rasputin to his palace under the pretense of a party. The nobles fed Rasputin cakes and wine laced with cyanide poison. Rasputin ate and drank everything and showed no ill effects whatsoever. A panicked Yusupov shot Rasputin in the back at close range. Rasputin collapsed. The conspirators left him for dead. Yusupov returned and found Rasputin alive and crawling toward the door. Rasputin grabbed Yusupov by the throat. The other conspirators rushed in and shot him 3 more times. They then beat him with a rubber club. Still allegedly breathing, they wrapped him in a carpet. They threw the carpet-wrapped body into the frozen Neva River. When the body was recovered, his arms were raised above his head. Some believed this meant he was still alive when he entered the water. Rasputin was approximately 47 years old. The official autopsy listed drowning as the cause of death. Adolf Hitler, Führer of Nazi Germany. April 30th, 1945, Berlin. Soviet forces had encircled the city completely. Hitler had retreated to his underground bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery. He knew the war was lost. On April 29th, Hitler married his longtime companion Eva Braun. The following day, he dictated his final political testament. At around 3:30 p.m. on April 30th, Hitler retired to his private study. Eva Braun took a cyanide capsule. Hitler shot himself in the right temple with his personal pistol. Both bodies were discovered by his valet shortly after. Per Hitler's explicit instructions, the bodies were carried upstairs. They were doused in petrol in the Reich Chancellery garden. The bodies were burned as Soviet shells fell around the building. Adolf Hitler was 56 years old. Soviet forces found the charred remains within days. DNA testing confirmed Hitler's identity from a tooth fragment in 2018. The most destructive leader in human history died alone in a hole in the ground. Benito Mussolini, Il Duce, Italy's fascist dictator. April 28, 1945, Lake Como, Italy. Mussolini had been attempting to flee to Switzerland. He hid himself among German soldiers in a convoy heading north. Communist partisans stopped the convoy at Dongo on Lake Como. A partisan named Luigi Canali recognized Mussolini hiding under a German army coat. Mussolini was arrested and held overnight at a farmhouse. The following morning, communist partisan leader Luigi Longo arrived. Mussolini was taken to a road outside the village of Giulino di Mezzegra. He was shot multiple times in the chest by partisan Walter Audizio. Mussolini was 61 years old. His body was then transported to Milan. It was hung upside down from the roof of a petrol station in Piazzale Loreto. This was the same square where Mussolini had ordered partisans displayed after execution. Crowds gathered and desecrated his body for hours. The man who dreamed of restoring the Roman Empire ended upside down at a gas station. Patrice Lumumba, the first Prime Minister of the Congo. January 17, 1961, Katanga, Congo. Lumumba had been the hero of Congolese independence from Belgium. He was deposed just months after taking power in a CIA-backed coup. He was captured, beaten, and transferred to the Katanga province. Belgian officers and Congolese soldiers shot him by a tree at night. Lumumba was 35 years old. To eliminate all evidence, Belgian Police Commissioner Gerard Sauté dissolved his body in sulfuric acid. Sauté kept 2 of Lumumba's teeth as souvenirs. The Belgian government formally acknowledged its role in Lumumba's murder in 2002. One of Lumumba's teeth was returned to his family in 2022. 60 years after his death, his only remains were 2 teeth. Salvador Allende, Chile's democratically elected socialist president. September 11, 1973, Santiago, Chile. A CIA-supported military coup had surrounded the presidential palace. General Augusto Pinochet's forces bombarded La Moneda Palace from the air. Allende refused to surrender or flee. He gave a final radio address to the Chilean people. He said he would not resign and would pay with his life if necessary. As military forces stormed the burning palace, Allende was found dead. The official version said he died by suicide with an assault rifle. Many Chileans and historians believed he was murdered by the military. A 2011 forensic investigation confirmed the gunshot wound was consistent with suicide. Salvador Allende was 65 years old. His death ushered in 17 years of brutal military dictatorship under Pinochet. The palace where he died has been preserved as a monument to his memory. Olof Palme, Sweden's beloved prime minister. February 28, 1986, Stockholm, Sweden. Palme had declined his security detail that evening. He and his wife Lisbeth went to the cinema without any bodyguards. They watched a film called Brother Mozart. At 11:21 p.m., walking home along Sveavägen Street, a man approached from behind. He fired 2 shots. The first bullet struck Palme in the back and killed him instantly. Lisbeth was also wounded but survived. The gunman disappeared into the Stockholm night and was never caught. Olof Palme was 59 years old. The case remained unsolved for 34 years. In 2020, Swedish prosecutors named Stig Engström as the prime suspect. Engström had died in 2000. The case was officially closed without conviction. The murder of Sweden's prime minister remains one of Europe's greatest unsolved crimes. Kim Jong-nam, the exiled half-brother of North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. February 13, 2017, Kuala Lumpur International Airport, Malaysia. Jong-nam was checking in for a flight to Macau. 2 women approached him separately in the departure hall. Each woman wiped a different chemical substance on his face. The 2 substances combined to form VX nerve agent on contact with his skin. VX is one of the most lethal chemical weapons ever produced. Jong-nam felt immediate burning and went to the airport medical clinic. He died within 20 minutes of being poisoned. Kim Jong-nam was 45 years old. The 2 women, an Indonesian and a Vietnamese national, were arrested. Both claimed they believed they were participating in a prank television show. North Korean agents had recruited and trained them without revealing the true mission. The Indonesian woman was convicted and later acquitted on appeal. No North Korean agents were ever brought to justice. Kim Jong-un had ordered the assassination of his own brother. The most sophisticated chemical weapon in history was deployed in an airport departure hall. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for similar ones. Feel free to drop suggestions for the next video in the comments.